Okay.
Okay. This virtual meeting of the City of Kingston Zoning Board of Appeals will now come to order. My name is Brian Cafferty, and I will be chairing this proceeding. I just will take a moment to explain the Zoning Board of Appeals functions. The board is comprised of 5 members and 2 alternates. We have been appointed to serve the citizens of the City of Kingston. We perform this service to the best of our abilities on a voluntary, unpaid basis. The other board members are, and I'll have you guys introduce yourself. Go ahead, Anthony.
Anthony Tampone.
Donna.
Donna Martin.
Mary.
Mary Neubauer.
Is there anybody else on here? No. Ari's not with us, right?
Ari, it's his son's birthday this evening.
Yep.
Aww.
Okay. There will be a period of public comment this evening, after which each variance request has been, after each variance has been presented. This period is an opportunity for individuals to make a statement of opinion, not to engage in debate. Each speaker must state their name and address for the record. Speakers must be brief and to the point and allow everyone a chance to speak. Speakers must address the board as a whole, not individual members and not other speakers or audience members. Professional demeanor is expected. Okay, first item on the agenda. I guess we're gonna approve the minutes from the November 16th. Can I have a motion to do that?
I move to.
I'll second.
That was Mary.
Yep, that was me.
And Anthony. All in favor? Aye. Okay. New business. We have an applicant by the name of Angelo DePaula. Is the applicant here?
Yes, let me unmute. This is Angelo's wife. Let me ask her to unmute herself.
Okay.
Hi, Maureen.
Hello there. How are you?
This is Maureen DePolo, Angelo's wife. Brian.
Hi, Marie.
Hello.
How are you? Okay.
Good. How are you?
Good. Do you want to take a moment and just review your application and just give us the general gist of what you're looking to accomplish this evening?
Well, we own the building on Greenkill Avenue, 177 Greenkill.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point we were using it as a party room for children's parties. And we haven't been able to do that. So we'd like to add 1 apartment downstairs because I have 2 already existing upstairs. And I'd like to add 1 apartment downstairs on the far left side, which would have been a dining room and an office area at one point before with the previous owners, and leave the other side of the building with still the existing bar in it because we don't want to get rid of that beautiful piece of equipment, and the side room as still storage for us where we can store some of our video games that we still own. So it's just adding 1 apartment downstairs. It would be a 1-bedroom. And basically that's about it. Do you need any more information on it? You know, the expenses have gotten where, especially now that we can't park in front of the building, you can't really use it for too much other than an apartment because I do have a small parking lot there.
Now, can I ask you a quick question about that?
Yeah.
That parking lot on the right-hand side of the building, is that the only parking lot?
That's the only parking lot I have, yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead, continue.
But the expenses are outweighing what we're taking in from our 2 apartments upstairs. So we'd like to be able to kind of, like make it as much self-sufficient as we can, making, it's hard to make a profit right now with everything, but at least help pay some of the expenses in the building.
Okay. Just a couple of questions. So you purchased the property
in 2000, way back in 2003 or 4, something like that.
For $115,000, is that correct?
Yeah, we've tried selling it.
I see that. And so the amount of loans and outstanding debts against the property and it's this, I don't know. So
it's about 30,000 because I have two of them. I used one. I used it as collateral for my existing restaurant that I own. And I'm going to be adding to it because I'm going to add in new heaters and stuff because the heaters are basically shot there. So I'm going to go for another loan if this is all approved and put in 3 new heaters for each existing apartment.
Okay. And question, with vacancy rates in the city of Kingston being what they are, which is practically zero for all intents and purposes, the rents for your apartments upstairs, have the apartments not been updated or something? Because the rental income is a bit low.
Well, they have been 2 very good tenants since we remodeled them after a fire in, I think it was 2004. And we have
right around the time you bought it, there was a fire?
Yeah, a grease fire upstairs. One of our tenants decided to put out a fire with water.
That's always good.
Yeah, so we had to redo the whole upstairs and that cost us money because our insurance agent at the time didn't tell us, you know, get replacement cost or something. It was some other kind of insurance, but, you know, needless to say, that's over and done with. So, you know, we have raised it a couple times to them, but it's, you know, it's a single woman and a single mom, you know, trying to make their best, and they pay me every single month. So I'm just looking to, you know, get another single person in there that can, you know, pay it, you know, a little bit more than what they're paying probably, and bring it up a little bit.
Okay.
Because if I was to raise their rates, they probably wouldn't be able to afford them.
Right. And I'm just trying to, I'm having to do this scrolling. Did you provide a monthly budget for what it costs you to operate the building?
Yes, it is there. It is in the paperwork.
I'm trying to find it.
I gotta go.
Okay. I'm in a meeting.
You're in a meeting?
Yes, I'm in a meeting.
Okay.
Okay, honey.
I'll see you soon.
All right.
Okay. It must be at the
Everything
beginning.
is good with you? Good.
Does anybody have that budget handy?
Let me.
I saw a couple of lines in the application, you know, like the, but there's no, you know, the monthly mortgage is listed at 1,816, sewer water 225, taxes at 13,000. Although if you, I think there's an error there because the provided a statement included escrow in that 1,800, so the taxes are being doubled.
I saw that. There's no way the taxes could be $13,000, and if they are, you need to grieve them immediately.
Well, the taxes actually are $13,000 on that property.
I should probably grieve them because it's zoned as a restaurant, and we haven't used it as a restaurant basically in 6 years. And
you're being told that you can't because you don't have the adequate parking. So, you know, I mean, I'm not here to tell you how to run your property, but if the taxes are $13,000 and it's based on the fact that it's a non-homestead property because there's a business there that you can't actually operate as a business, you probably need to talk to the assessor about that.
Yeah, because that was well, when you put in the bike paths, that's when we lost our parking.
Okay.
So the one thing I should, my understanding.
So yes, in the 1800s, it does include the escrow. I'm sorry, I didn't think to take that out.
Yeah.
But there was a copy of it there showing the tax payment, the escrow payment. I did send a statement with the packet.
Just to keep it clear, my understanding is that as long as that is still not 100% a residential property, then it's still going to be a non-homestead property. So the
but you get taxed on your use, not so much the zoning. And if the use of the building is no longer able to be commercial,
Yeah, but they're not changing the entire property to be residential. There's still commercial space in there. So I don't know if that's.
Well, it's just basically our own personal storage. So, I mean, if I have to change that, it's just storage for our equipment.
Yeah, that's hardly
That's not commercial. I'm not using it commercially or anything. I can't.
I don't know. I can't get out of my realtor head when I hear things like this. I'm like, okay, I go right into like, oh yeah, this is not right.
Yeah, I think on the application, I gave me the, when I looked at the paperwork online, it showed a rating for a restaurant.
481
so-
restaurant.
Mhm.
481 restaurant. That's how it is coming up on the property record.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
And you're not
you know,
getting rid of, I'm sorry, the bar still remains and so does the kitchen, correct?
Yeah, but
So
I mean, the
technically you
bar,
still have a restaurant there.
well, technically no, because I can't use it as one. And the bar is there because to take it out is a beautiful piece of artwork in a sense. I really didn't want to do that. And if somebody, you know, if later on down the line, I want to sell the building and somebody wants to change things, you know, things change, then the bar is still there.
and
you know, and-
also the insurance doesn't make sense either. So
Well, I'm trying to get that changed too. And that will change when I get everything else changed too.
okay.
But the insurance, you know, is $4,000 basically for it right now.
And I see the mortgage payment is $1,816. Did you refinance or take money out or?
Nope,
Okay, that's the mortgage.
it's been going up on it. It's been going up because of the taxes. It's not the mortgage because owe, you know, practically nothing on the mortgage technically, my balance, but it's all taxes.
All right, I got to be honest with you.
Oh.
I got to be honest with you, Marie. I'm sorry. It's just the numbers. The reason I'm having a hard time is because the way these numbers are presented. If the monthly mortgage payment is including the tax escrow and the insurance, it needs to be all broken out so I can actually see what it's costing.
I believe in my packet, I did send a mortgage statement, you know, that I would, you know, normally pay to round out. So that would show what the escrow is, and my insurance is not included in my mortgage. I pay that separately.
Okay.
I have a question, Brian.
Yep.
My question is, you paid 115,000?
Yep.
1 year ago.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I paid 115,000 back
But the mortgage on it, according to this, the amounts of loans or outstanding debts are 285,000?
No.
No, that's what
28,500.
Well, then there's an extra zero written on that piece of paper.
There is.
Okay, that's why I was getting confused because it looks here, it looks
Yes,
like
it's all very
285,000.
confusing. So here's what I'm going to propose. You know, and rather than do this while we have other people waiting and everything like that, I think that I'm gonna suggest maybe we table this application, you know, gets updated and redone in a more clear and succinct way so that we can fully understand what it's costing you to carry the property so that we can make a clear decision, because it's just all, I mean, does anybody have a problem with that?
I don't. I agree.
No. I would also like to ask the applicant to provide a pro forma statement on what they expect it to be afterwards.
What the rents are going to be?
Yeah.
And costs. Okay.
Okay.
Do you understand that, Marie?
Yeah, you want to know what the rent is going to be, what my rentals are going to be, what the
And
Yeah,
expense-
you want a pro forma on the whole building as built.
Okay.
And the Marie, have you talked to the building department on what it would take to actually do the change of use?
Well,
That's
there's
the
already
zoning door.
there's already doors there, so all I have to do is put a wall up, because the one section of the building already has a bathroom with a shower, a bathtub in it.
Well,
So I don't have
there's a if you change the use of a property, then the property has to come up to current building code. So you're going to want to talk to Steve Knox about that. Make sure that what you're expecting you need to do and what you actually need to do are the same things.
Okay. All right.
Anthony, just to be clear, are you trying to say that if you change the use of a building, the whole building has to be?
I'm not clear, which is why.
Yeah, I think that if we give her a use variance, the only part that has to be brought to code is the work to be done. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Not the whole building.
Okay, Marie.
Yes.
If you could just tidy this application up and give us that pro forma and get back on the agenda for next month, we'll address it then. Okay.
Okay. No problem.
All right.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to table?
Make a
Move to
motion.
table. Oh, I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, hang one second. Let's get the right thing here. Okay. Tabled. Who was that? Mary did the first?
I did.
Donna did the first and I second.
Okay. That's exactly the opposite of what I thought. Donna first. Okay. All right. Next item up on the agenda is excuse me, we have old business. So we're here to next up is Raquel Stammer and Nicholas Pankin. You folks here? Are you unmuted?
We're here.
Okay. So we've had a chance to get some additional information, and we feel that there's it's an unfortunate situation that you're contending with. However, for the ZBA to issue a variance, that would set a precedent that could be extremely problematic going forward. And due to the fact that, you know, a number of the issues you're dealing with are of a civil nature. And just to be clear, you do have an order of protection against your neighbor, is that correct?
No, we don't have an order of protection. I filed a complaint with the police for trespassing, and on the basis of the complaint of trespassing, I filed for an order of protection. And I spoke to the assistant DA, and he said that our neighbor was giving an ACD, which is adjourned, dismissed. What is it?
Well, we're of the impression that there was an order of protection, which does provide you, you know, some ability to manage the situation in the event that he breaks the order of protection. So that's.
Is there somewhere that we could get clarity on that, get it in writing?
Well, that would be something you would need to do with the DA's office. But the long and short of it is, unfortunately, is that the solution to the problem cannot be us issuing a variance for a 9-foot fence that creates a precedent that could be problematic for the city and its land use regulations, and just if every neighbor that had a problem with a neighbor was able to build a 9-foot fence, I don't even know where we would end up. So unfortunately, you know, I'm not exactly sure if council could step in here, whether we're voting to deny the variance, or I'm not entirely sure, basically process wise.
If you don't want, excuse me for butting in, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. No,
If you do not want to allow the 9-foot fence, you would have to make a motion to deny the variance.
Okay, so what I would like to do is find out if there's somebody on the put this to a vote, and if there's a motion, you know, for, and you know, to deny the variance, and then we can see if there's a second, and then we can vote on it.
One question, Mr. Chairman. When do you want to do public comment, or do you want to respond to the neighbor who's asking to speak right now?
Oh, okay. That's right. Forgive me. I did not ask before we went to that next step. So let me just, let me find out, are there any of the board members that want to speak to this issue?
Can I just interject and say that, you know, rather than put up a 9-foot fence, that they clarify their property line and possibly install some very nice evergreen trees that will be year-round a shield from that property. So it would be a natural fence rather than a 9-foot fence, and those trees can go, you know, anywhere between 10 and 12, 15 feet high. And
I would caution that.
Okay.
That's,
yeah,
it's not allowed per zoning code.
Yeah, and also
People
Donna,
do it, but I don't, you know.
As well-meaning and as well-intentioned as that is, unfortunately, it's not our job to suggest solutions to these problems.
Oh, okay. All right.
But there's, you know, I'm sure within the code there might be some landscaping options that they might pursue.
Mm-hmm.
All right, is there any member of the public that would like to speak to this issue?
Yes, Mr. Edge.
So when this wall was first constructed,
Mr. Edge, can you state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Matthew Edge, and I reside at 220 Tremper with my girlfriend. And this is my mother here.
Okay.
Who's here to advocate for the situation. She's been around. She visits a lot. She understands what's going on.
Matt had surgery.
Are you Mrs. Edge?
No, I'm Mrs. Smith, Kimberly Smith of Bern, New York.
Hi, Mrs. Edge. I'm Mrs. Smith, excuse me.
Yeah, and he had surgery for a neck injury this morning, so I was his driver. So I happened to be here because he had anesthesia.
All right.
So I thought it'd be also helpful to be part of the meeting. I did hear the meeting from last week. So I had some comments. But go ahead.
Can I say, can I say a couple things?
So go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you so much for getting a chance to speak at this meeting. I love the suggestion of the trees. Just want to put that out there. I think that getting a variance for that makes a lot more sense to me as a constructive solution to the situation. The situation really got ugly when the neighbors built a 9-foot barricade 4 foot onto the shared driveway, and they didn't ask me about it. And when I came to them with a zoning map from a reputable local surveyor, they just put their headphones on like I wasn't there. And I'm a negotiator by trade. I have been part of negotiations for all my life, and like I've done things like, for example, I did a settlement for trying to get a demand within Occupy Wall Street, which is a whole bunch of different opinions. So I'm like a very calm person. I spent a month at a monastery meditating. I'm like, I didn't harass them. There was no harassment going on. I came to them with a map and said, hey, this is on the shared driveway. Can you move the 9-foot barricade off the shared driveway? And they just put their headphones on. And they never got a permit to ask, it's one thing to make a mistake saying you have a survey map and build something on somebody else's property because you think you have a right to it. They never got a survey done in the first instance. They were and there was a survey there by a reputable person that they wouldn't look at, and they built this thing anyways. And that's one thing, that's maybe negligent, but
Mr. Edge, can I just ask you, as a favor, I really don't want to, if we could avoid this re-prosecuting this whole thing.
They had 15 minutes to malign my name in the last meeting. Could I just have
Well, yeah, no, I'm not cutting you off. I'm just trying to get you to focus.
I'm going to be concise, and if I could have one, if you just set a timer, give me 1 or 2 minutes, and
I think, Mr. Chairman, you should just make it clear to be no personal attacks. I think.
Right, please.
Okay, so
you know, if you felt you were personally attacked, don't.
I have no intent on personally attacking anyone. I'm just, for the record, there were 5, 6 personal attacks made on me last time, and that was not.
Okay,
anyway,
got it.
So let me just.
You're going to be the better angel here.
I absolutely. And so I was trying to be a good neighbor. You know, we had a falling apart. I reached out to them and said, let's create a space for healing. They didn't want to do it. And they're just like, we prefer just to never talk to you or see you again. And so they just put headphones on whenever they saw me, and built a 9-foot wall on my property.
Right.
Well, it's shared property, but I pay taxes on it. That's my property. It's our shared property, and made it so I couldn't access my boat. And when I went to them to say, hey, this is on my property, I need to access my boat because people were going to meet me in the Adirondacks, a canoe, they called the police on me. And I had like a police officer who was also like the security guard at Hannaford tell me that if I walked onto my property, that he was going to take me down to the station because they convinced him that it was their property in this really sort of fraudulent, manipulative way. And they did it. They called the police on me several times for walking on my own property. And they tried to get them to file harassment things. The police were like, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. And they finally went down to the station, begged them. They said, fine, they did it, went to court. They dropped it. Because I was never harassing anyone. I was just going like, hey, like, I understand it's upsetting to them that the property line that they want to be the property line isn't the property line. But it's not okay to call the police on somebody if you don't know it's your property in the first instance. They had their own surveyor, my survey, and the safety department tell them that it was on my property, and they didn't move it for months, and called the police on me, knowing that you're committing a Class A misdemeanor by knowingly saying that I was trespassing when they knew, because they had their own survey done, that it was my property. So it's crazy. It's
okay.
Crazy.
I can empathize with that. I listen, you know, it's difficult. It's a difficult situation. I'm just going to say that I implore both parties, having had experience with having difficulty with a neighbor, it is much preferred not to have difficulties with your neighbor. And I just think I think that both parties, if they would just be willing to agree to not, to try and work this out and be better neighbors to one another and more gentle to one another. There's a lot of craziness and acrimony and craziness going on in the world. We don't need to have our neighbors, doing this to one another. And I don't take any sides on that. It's just my advice that, you guys choose to not have it be this way. And with that, unless there's somebody else that wants to speak to this issue. Okay.
I understand that when that wall was initially built, Matt's ex-wife had a pool, in a lap pool in the backyard, and they had a raised deck. And I understand how that would affect your privacy, because that raised deck, I think, did overlook their yard.
Yeah.
Matt's ex-wife moved the pool and took away that raised deck
before the last meeting. So that there was all this fraudulent stuff going on. They were talking about it wasn't even there.
Let me finish. Okay, thank you, sir. But I think, this ugly barricade of hate that was constructed, and then the fact that it was like 4 feet on the shared, like a shared driveway doesn't mean half the driveway is the neighbors and half the driveway is the other.
I am keenly aware of that.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure shared driveways cause tremendous problems in communities. So I wish they didn't allow them. But anyway, but if someone builds a building on your shared driveway with a padlock on it, and then when you go to tell them it's on your shared property, they accuse you of trespassing and harassment, and then come to a zoning meeting and slander you, it doesn't build for good relationships. No. And I think you guys have done a wonderful job at You know, Matt didn't have a chance to speak last week. He wants to feel safe in his property. He doesn't want to have this ugly barricade of hatefulness staring down on him. I think he doesn't want to have any interaction with his neighbors.
Okay, well, I thank you. I will just say one other quick thing. If you want to de-escalate, it would probably be a really good idea to take the hyperbole down for both parties. Anyhow, is there anybody else? Is there anybody else that wants to speak to this issue? Okay. You know, okay. Go ahead, Mr.
Right. So I just want to start by saying that I don't intend to relitigate anything that's happened in the past, regardless of, you know, my difference of opinion about what's been said tonight. Mm-hmm. So I intend to keep it brief and not, you know, like I said, not relitigating or disputing anything in this meeting, because I recognize that's not necessarily productive for the purpose of this meeting. Our intention with putting up the barrier that is currently there, and our intention for putting up a permanent, permitted fence is simply and exclusively to have no contact, because for what the way that we've navigated the situation is we've come to the conclusion that there's not any possibility for healthy contact. So our solution for our well-being, our mental health, is to have no contact. And that's really our sole objective in the situation. Our concern is that removing the barrier that's currently there is going to put us in a position where we're more exposed to more unwanted contact that we have tried to not respond to and not engage with. And so we're in a situation now where I hear that you're inclined to deny the variance, where I'm concerned that we're going to be going into a situation where we will now be more exposed to the kind of interactions that we really feel really clear is going to lead to conflict and problem, and we just want simply to have no contact.
Well, hopefully that will not be the case. My only suggestion would be, if you don't want contact and contact is made, just be cordial and disengage, and that's that. I don't know what else to tell you. You know, I understand this is a difficult situation, but just, you could both try to just have it be different, because it stands to benefit both parties for it to be different. Okay, is that all you have to say, Mr. Pankin? Okay.
Can I add one thing? And I'm not going to go into everything that was just said. I want to say, perhaps this is not possible, but I think at this time, I understand that you were saying this thing about building a 9-foot fence would set a precedent that other people in town would then want to build tall fences between their neighbors. I understand that argument completely. I think what I want to say is, in reality, anything would be nice, even if it's not 9 feet. Anything above 6.5 feet would be wonderful. I understand that you may not want to agree to that either. And I also want to say that I hope that you looked at the evidence that we sent with our application, and that it's clear that this is beyond a regular neighbor dispute. And if it was so, we wouldn't have asked for this to begin with.
I'll reiterate. I'll just reiterate that you can probably achieve some additional protections in terms of let's just call it privacy, with some judicious plantings, and
it is on a driveway, so that you know, adds complication.
Okay, well, you're not using the driveway, so you could take the driveway up. So, so I'm gonna just bring this to a conclusion and ask if there's a motion on the floor to deal with this application.
A motion to deny it.
Okay.
I second.
So you're making a motion to not approve, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, and it was seconded by?
Mary.
First, Mary. Second. All those, so let me go down the thing. So Mary, you're a no. Donna?
No.
Okay. And Anthony?
No.
And I'm a no. And I take no pleasure in this, you know, whatsoever. I just hope it can get worked out. It's very unfortunate. And I think that the parties are just gonna have to work harder at resolving it. We can't be the solution to this problem. All right, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and then I was trying to avoid them until I built a 9-foot wall on my property.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. So we're Daniel Ventura. Yes. Daniel, are you there? Daniel? Mueller?
I'm trying to tell him to unmute. He's got to, Daniel, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I do. So good evening.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Mr. Cafferty. Chairman Cafferty, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. We don't need to stand on ceremony. Okay. So, Daniel, we are in possession of your rather voluminous, however you say that word, application, updated application, lots and lots and lots of paper, but not that much more in terms of actual budget. Lots of 8.5 by 11 pictures. It's lovely, it's beautiful, but the problem still remains is that you didn't really document. What we asked you to document was to give some sort of a sense of what the, you know, what you spent all that money on. That put you in a situation where you went from $115,000 purchase price to now a property that you supposedly have over $300,000 invested in. So that's one of the first things that I want to point out. And I have a couple of questions beyond that. The attic is a 3rd floor level proposed unit, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a fire escape?
This fire escape enclosed on the property from the 1st and the 2nd floor, not to the attic, but I can easily go from the attic to the extra exit.
Okay, because New York State Building Code requires that anything, you know, on a 3rd floor requires a fire escape, and it can't, you know, it has to meet that requirement. So I just didn't see anything about a fire escape in the application.
It's from the, excuse me, but I presented a drawing for the proposed 3rd floor attic, and it shows the 2nd exit on the stairway.
There's a 2nd exit
from on the plans that I presented to convert this attic into a third residence.
Okay. I just didn't notice that it's proposed to be an approved, you know, fireproof fire escape. The back wooden stairs, I don't think qualifies, but anyhow.
Well, obviously, if I am gifted with the approval of this, I will make the essays required by the zoning and by the code, even if I had to replace, including the first and the second stairway.
You want me to intervene quick here? You need my intervention? Yep. So in order for Mr. Venture to do third floor occupancy, he would have to sprinkler the entire third floor and the exit all the way down the hallways and staircases till he's out the front door.
So sprinkler only? There's no other alternative?
Fire escapes have been outlawed. They're no longer in use.
Yeah, you can't put
existing ones are still in use, but they're not installing those.
Okay, so Daniel, that's why I brought it up. And this is news to me, which is great. It's good to learn something new every day. And I just learned that if you're gonna do a third floor, that you would have to sprinkler the apartment and the whole exit route.
Yep.
So
yes.
Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay, and you would actually, you actually planning on doing that in order to add this apartment?
That's my intention. And let me tell you a little bit more. This is, to me, is the space is really wonderful attic. It has 5 existing windows already. It's a wonderful structure with a very, very high ceiling. And my passion is art. And I love to create something that it is of value, like it's aesthetically really pleasing. And especially if it's challenging. So I am aware that I need to do the sprinkler system. And I also gonna have to do the whole apartment basically there, because there's nothing in it by the rafters.
Okay, also, yes, I understand it's a hipped gabled roof, you know, so I understand how that space can be, you know, really well suited to doing something like this. But my my concern still remains that this is a self-created issue, and we're still not, the board is still not in possession of anything that helps us better understand how you got here.
I'm going to apologize because I was of the opinion that you needed additional income to show. That's what I was told. And perhaps there was a misunderstanding because I asked Mr. Kitchen and he requested to provide the additional income. I did notice that we did have a conversation regarding the amount of money that I spent, and I most certainly have the validation of that expenditure. And also to let you know that it's very strange. I moved into this area, and my first project was in the end of 2018 here, which I did the other multifamily, but I was coming from Manhattan, where the prices are 3 times as higher than here. For a person like me, in the middle of the COVID, it didn't appear so incredibly bad. I mean, it is what it is. That's how I live my life. Sometimes it happens that you are into something and you have to either continue or stop and not knowing what it will happen. So it is self-inflicted to that extent that I continue to something that perhaps on second sight I should have waited and spent less. But in any event, at the beginning of this meeting, you mentioned that there was 0 apartments for rental, which is true. This city absolutely needs more units. You know, so I think that in certain ways, you welcome somebody that is going to do something to the property and have an extra unit, not to displace anybody else, no, but just to acquire respect.
We certainly concur that there's a housing shortage. However, that doesn't change the context within which we are having to review your application and, you know, whether or not we can issue the variance or not, or should we issue the variance. So yeah, I'll totally understand that. I have one other question before I ask the rest.
Before you move on, Brian, can I just ask Eric, can you mute the phone number ending in 410 because it keeps on screwing up the audio?
Yeah, yes, and let me just clarify, and Mr. Daniel Venture can agree with this. I simply asked Mr. Venture to please provide documentation to what would the figures be with a third apartment there. And I believe that's what you asked at the
like a pro forma for the thing.
You asked for a pro forma because the additional apartment that had not yet been built was not included in the figures. And that's what you had asked for when you tabled it or withdrew it from the last meeting.
I agree with Mr. Kitchen. That's my understanding, and it's why I provided. And when I was considering doing something in order to validate my expenditures, do you want me to bring you invoices and labor and contract and things of that sort? In other words, because basically I did spend additional money, and it's not, the hardship is not necessarily necessary. It's only for the present structure of the hardship is X. I pay so much in the loan and so much of the expenses. Now,
okay.
And I also
I'm not going to answer that quite yet, Daniel, because I want to see if there are any other questions. The one other question I did have is the easement that you included is the easement that allows you to pull in alongside to do the bias parking alongside the building?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody, Anthony, does anybody, Mary, Donna, do you have any questions regarding the application?
I don't. I agree that we need more information on the cost of the renovations.
And yeah, I'm missing it. I don't see where even the proposed new income is.
Yeah, that was the other question I had, Anthony. Thank you. Okay. Does the income now on the income and expenses include what would be the potential rental of the third floor apartment?
The one that I gave you, the newest, that is income and expenses, include the expenses that are actual, which is $38,727, and the income I added rental income of $1,000, which I found super conservative, but it probably could be rented for $1,200 or $1,250. Once I finish, I don't know, but I added $12,000 for the.
This would be the sheet, Mr. Chairman.
Right, I got it. I got it. So that $51,600 has $12,000 added to it to represent the income, proposed income for the third floor apartment.
Yes.
Okay. And you're saying that your total annual expenses are $38,727, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. I'm just do some quick math here. While I'm doing higher math, does anybody have anything there? So basically, and so that makes kind of total sense. So there it is. Without the $12,000, you would essentially just break even on the property, which is, I think, kind of what you said, that you were revenue neutral. Okay. Anybody have anything to add to that?
Anybody else want to speak?
Okay. Does anybody from the public want to speak?
Yes, I do.
Oh God, Scott Denny. All right. How are you, Scott?
No, it's not Scott Denny.
Oh, you sounded like Scott Denny.
My name is Kevin Bockelman.
Oh, hey, Kevin, how are you?
I've lived at 3 North Wilbur for the last 30 years. And since they put this trail in, I don't foresee no parking. And Angelo, I have nothing against Angelo, but he wants to put an apartment over there.
That case has been closed.
What do you mean it's been closed? I never got through.
You were on the meeting the whole time, sir. I don't know what to tell you.
What?
Well, that's tabled until next month anyway.
Yeah, that application was essentially tabled for right now. So we're not taking any public comment on that because that issue is closed.
Okay.
This
No,
meeting.
I'm just saying there's definitely no parking, and we got to have off-street parking. He don't have that.
Right. No, there is. I agree with you, Mr. Bachman.
The applicant's not here, so we should not be discussing it.
So yeah.
Okay. No problem. Well, when's the next meeting so I can voice my opinion?
Next
January. Okay. I've never done the Zoom, so it's very new to me. I don't have a problem with that. If we was in person, we wouldn't have a problem. But
yeah. So yeah, you should come back next week. You should come back.
You will receive another letter for January's meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. I didn't even know that's what he was talking about. Does anybody want to speak to this application that's currently being discussed? Hello?
Okay.
Okay. So nobody. Okay. So does
Brian, I think last time we did ask, I think actually you're the one who brought it up, asked them to, the applicant to provide the expenses and what they expected it to be to show that it wasn't a self-induced hardship.
Well, it's somewhat of a self-inflicted, self-created situation because, he knowingly bought a 2-family building and now he wants to change the zoning. So he's asking for it on the basis of hardship.
But the application was specifically that the costs in his application, it says the costs were higher for the renovation because of the pandemic. So
well, that was part of it.
We had talked about somehow documenting that they were higher than he expected to originally spend.
Yeah, and if we're going to make a decision on this, I think we need that information. The thing is that I'm not expecting him to provide me not me, but the board, every single receipt for the construction. But we should have, some sort of a construction budget and an idea of what was spent, by category, how much it costs to redo the floors, how much it costs to paint the place, things like that, and just come up with a budget for what he spent on it. And if he wants to provide some documentation in terms of receipts, that would be helpful. But I don't want 180-page copies of receipts.
Thank you so very much, because I was thinking now I'm gonna have to copy checks and things like that, but very much it's not so difficult to obtain what you request. And I honestly apologize for my lack of understanding of what it was required of me on this application. I felt that perhaps to me, I say the number shows you spend so much money and this is what you're coming in, regardless pretty much if you overspend or if you have some tragedy or some people rip you off, which I'm sorry to say that probably was the case as well, because it was very difficult to build anything during COVID.
Daniel, just bear in mind that when you provide this document, you need to be prepared to show receipts. So I'm not asking you to send the receipts, but you need to pull this information together and you need to have it available. You're going to want it available anyway. You need it for your taxes in the event you ever sell the property.
Absolutely. So, I totally not opposed. Absolutely. I totally understand what you're saying. And I apologize again to wasting your time on this meeting. I should have brought that in. I totally was my error.
Okay.
Question?
Yes.
Will he have to provide an estimate for the sprinklers?
Well, yeah, I think Anthony wanted you wanted basically a little bit of a separate performer for
a performer on what is completed to show that he'll actually get the return that he's looking at, like that, you know, the being granted the variance will allow him to get the return that's required.
Yeah, so we're gonna, in addition, Daniel, we're gonna need a construction budget for the proposed improvement.
For the proposed renovation.
Yep.
Okay.
And also,
because we don't want to give you a variance and then have you spend another $150,000 and then you'll be back for a fourth apartment. We can't do that.
I killed myself for that. No, absolutely, you're right.
I'll tell you right now, sprinkler in that whole top floor is probably going to end up costing you about $25,000 just for that, maybe more. So.
To be honest with you, Daniel, I'm not entirely sure that, and that's why what Anthony's getting at, and you know, you'll have to figure this out, but we need to know whether it makes sense, and that is the cost of doing this, particularly with the extra burden of having to sprinkle it. Could simply just not resolve your hardship.
I totally understand. And I tell you, one of the things, because we're talking about the hardship on one property, and to be deeply honest with all of you, in other words, I am not personally in hardship that I am not living well or things like that, because I got other properties that do well. It's this particular property is the one that has the hardship, and I most certainly will provide you with the paperwork that you need, and hopefully that will clear the issue.
Right, and bear in mind, Daniel, that you know, there might be other options available to you, you know, but you know, so you should consider all your options once you've done your budgets and stuff. If for some reason I've found in my life when I've done this kind of stuff, it's very hard to improve your way into profitability.
We're in the wrong business.
My conflict is that sometimes I get to think so much in my head. I keep thinking how this third unit is going to look and what I can do. And I'm so eager to do. And my plan really was to do like one property a year in this, in my retirement age. And so it's more appealing, the actual doing the deed than the income I'm gonna get out of it, to be honest. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. And I keep dreaming about redoing it in my head as well. So I hope that I can present the paperwork and it's acceptable to you all.
Okay, so I seem to remember last time it was, we talked about tabling it and Dan had some other process, but I think we're talking about
withdrawn.
Yeah, so this application is going to be withdrawn. He's going to reapply, and just like we did last time,
okay.
Right?
Not to be myself totally clear, so I will bring the cost of the new thing with the estimates, is accurate things of what is it going to cost. Plus, you need the actual expenditures on the actual renovation on the space before.
Right.
So
we just need them summarized, and okay. You need to have them available if we need to do some ground truthing. Okay.
Thank you so very much. I wish you a happy Christmas to everybody, a happy New Year.
Yes.
Thank you.
And let's
Thank
hope
you,
that
the same to you.
Year better than this past one. Thank you again. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, it appears as if that concludes our business for this evening. Eric, do we need to do anything else, or do we just, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, so I think that Mr. Venture has withdrawn his application himself, correct?
Right.
So we don't have to need to vote on that. You'll just need a motion to adjourn the meeting. And One second. Mr. We will revisit these. We'll revisit these, I guess, at the next January meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
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 I would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Right back at you, Eric. Happy holidays, everyone.
Enjoy.
If you guys are we alone?
We will be in a second.
Are we alone?
Hold on. Let
Wait a
me do that. Okay. I don't know who this is. Now we're alone.
Now we are alone.
Okay.
No, we're just
second. Hold on. I have to stop the recording.
Stop the recording.